Yeah.
You are.
Hello there, sir. Hi there, how are you?
Hi. Hey, how are you? Oh, brr. But actually today, yes, hopefully. Yes, 70 feet coming back.
It's kind of low.
Oh, yeah.
We can laugh at
All day.
I've been out digging out my.
Well, you're the family thing. I had to skip to be here, so I couldn't.
Well, thank you for coming.
I do like it. I think so. Hi, I'm Emily. I work here. She's the teacher. Yeah. And now she teaches our
DJ Terry? Hey, you know what, I have to come back. Yeah, I never mind. I'll just send it. Tuesday is wonderful. Get to make up for it. Thanks for coming. Hey, thanks for coming.
So that's the plan.
So that's what you're giving me tonight. You don't pick it. High school. I don't believe it. Well, you can tell for a second. It has to be anyways. How are you? Nice to see you. Yeah, what's going on? Still here, right? You are still here. Yo, don't even. Yeah, we're close to 17. Oh yeah. Isn't that nice? Yeah, you get a view. Yeah. Yeah.
We got to fight to get $1,100 put in to fight the
Crazy. It's all great to do. I know. Yeah. Where the hell are we going to
Quarter, it's about 10, 12 after our starting time. So you can all rise and join me at the pledge of allegiance and stand for a minute afterwards for a moment of silence. So I'll read some names. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For a moment of silence, I'd like you to remember the following people that passed away. These are people that served the community in various ways and means. Jerry Pelletier, Marion and Cliff Trapton. Marion was on a number of boards, planning board for a number of years. Joan Goodrich, Nancy West, and the former selectman Victor Jones. All the signs, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
I ask that you all set your cell phones to silent mode, and if you need to take a call, please exit the room to complete your call. Take it in the hallway if you could. There's no smoking allowed within the building. Remember, this is a school property. I believe the rule is actually no smoking on school property, but if the principal's in here, he probably won't tackle you outside, so don't worry. You're probably going to send someone else. Introductions. My name is Chris Jacobs. I'm your moderator, your school board. Mr. Doug Shoup, Mr. Ed Curran, Mr. Paul Steer, Mrs. Melissa Brown, and Mrs. Emily Mean could not be with us here today. And sitting to my left is School District Clerk Tammy Crandall. School Superintendent SAU 64 is Mr. Erwin Sussman. Erwin's here. Business Administrator is Nathan Castle. Special Education Director Mr. Robert Quaz here in the front row. High School Principal Jane Radowitz. and her assistant, Jennifer Levitt, and elementary school principal, John Safino. Their legal counsel this year is Mr. Gordon Grant. Budget Committee, Mr. Thomas McDougall is the chairman, Mr. Andrew Rawson, the selectman's rep, Mr. Brown, Mr. Humphrey Williams, Mr. Dennis Woods. Supervise your checklist out of the table if you haven't already seen them. Get your colored card, yellow. Color brown. Karen Brown and Mr. Ripley Breach Campbell. General announcements. There will be a candidates forum for all candidates running for school district and town offices on Sunday, February 23rd, 2020, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room beginning at 3 p.m. Almost with 90% certainty be videotaped like we're doing today for replay on the local channel. We are under the provisions of SB 2. There is no final vote on the items discussed today until March 10, 2020. Please bring your driver's license or other valid form of identification to check in with the election officials on that day. For those of you voting Tuesday in the primary, please bring your IDs. I have been assured by the Secretary of State that we will be checked and examined by a badge-carrying member of the Secretary of State's office. In other words, no funkiness will be tolerated. We have to comply with the rules. It's going to be, I predict, a very busy day, and therefore, make sure you bring those driver's licenses. All questions are to be directed through myself, the moderator. As moderator, I will not vote except to make or break time. Vote today, you need to check in with the supervisor's checklist and raise your colored ballot this way. Be counted. Please be courteous to all present, speak to the warrant, or you will be ruled out of order. If you wish to speak, please state your name. You must use this microphone here at the front so you'll be heard by all present. Each speaker may only speak once until after everyone else has spoken. Please be brief. I will not recognize a motion to move the question when it's clear that others wish to speak. That happened earlier today. The motion will only be recognized when everyone who wishes to speak has done so at least once. I will read each warrant article in full. I will then recognize the motion to open the warrant article for discussion, recognize the second of that motion, and take your vote by colored hand ballot. After a period of discussion and questions, the warrant will then be open to amendments. All amendments must be in writing. No excuse. I hadn't taken any that have not been in writing. There will be no amendments to amendments, one at a time. All persons present have had the opportunity to speak to the article. I will then recognize the motion to close and to further restrict reconsideration for the remainder of the day. If the warrant article has been amended, I will read the warrant article in full with any approved amendments before the vote. If someone would like to vote by secret ballot, that's what the ballot booths are here for today. I do need a motion in writing. It needs to be signed by 5 registered voters, and the list has to be verified by the supervisor of the checklist to make it a legal motion. If you want that done, do it now. If we don't have a motion for secret ballot, I will take the vote by using the colored hand ballots. After the vote, I will instruct the clerk to place the warrant article on the second session ballot as read or amended. Again, under SB 2, there are no final votes today. They'll be taken on March 10th. Restricting reconsideration. Very good. Restricting reconsideration can only postpone a second vote to a reconvened meeting held at least 7 days from now. Here we go. That's why we pay in the big ones. Go for it.
Restriction on reconsideration at a Senate Bill 2 meeting will mean that there's no further action until it goes on to the ballot.
We changed my notes.
Right?
All right. If you move to restrict reconsideration, you might bring it back to the floor today, even if it's good for reasons such as a math hearing. This did happen at this particular meeting several years ago where someone noticed that on the operating budget, there was a mistake. What was either read or printed. But they noticed it way late, and therefore we did not go back and change it. Does anyone have any questions about these rules? I am the moderator, and while I run the meeting, I can be overruled with a point of order at any time by a majority vote. Point in question is, in the earlier meeting, we got to the point where we were going to close. We actually did close discussion, but we didn't end further reconsideration, and someone brought up the idea that something else needed to be discussed. We actually reopened the article, so those votes to open and close each individual article are important because they control the flow of the meeting and the order that we move it. Okay. One other business item, that is all these notes. We need to recognize the non-residents in the room. So before I read the first article, I need to bring to the voters' attention that we have several people in the room that are not eligible to vote but may wish to speak to one more of the articles before you. Those persons are Mr. Earl Sussman, your superintendent, Mr. Nathan Castle, your business administrator, Jan Radowitz, high school principal, John Safina, middle school principal, Christine Pickle, vice president, Robert Adams, he's the facilities director, Tim Eldridge, transportation director, Robert Quah, your special ed director, Mary Ann Doan, HLTA president, and Mr. Gordon Graham, school's attorney. Is there a motion on the floor to allow these people to address the body? There is.
I've got out, but I think names, please.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded to allow these people to speak. All those in favor, raise your colored ballots. All those opposed? You are allowing these people to speak and address the body today. Thank you. Moving on to the warrant. To the inhabitants of the school district in the town of Milton, New Hampshire, qualified to vote in district affairs, you are hereby notified of the following annual school district meetings scheduled. First session. You are hereby notified to meet at the new middle school and library cafeteria in said district on Saturday, the 8th of February at 1 p.m. The session will consist of explanation, discussion, and debate of warrant articles number 2 through 13. Warrant articles may be amended subject to the following limitations. A. Warrant articles whose wording is prescribed by law shall not be amended. B. Warrant articles that are amended shall not be placed on the final ballot for a final vote on the main motion that are amended shall be placed on the official ballot for a final vote on the main motion as amended. C. No warrant article should be amended to eliminate the subject matter of the key article. Second session. You are hereby notified to meet at Restoration Church in Milton, New Hampshire on Tuesday, March 10, 2020, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. to vote by official ballot on articles numbered 1 through 13. Article 1 is the election of the officers to choose the following school district officers: a moderator for the ensuing 3 years, choose a clerk for the ensuing 3 years, choose a school board member for the ensuing 3 years, choose a treasurer for the ensuing 3 years. I'll instruct the clerk to place warrant article 1 on the second session ballot as read because it cannot be amended here. Article 2. Shall the Milton School District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein totaling $10,655,719.59. Should this article be defeated, the call budget shall be $10,792,425.17, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Milton School District or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, Roman 10, and Roman 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. No, warrant article 2, the operating budget does not include any appropriations. In any other warrant article, the total operating budget will be offset by federal grant revenues of $392,466, leaving a net budget amount of $10,273,253.59. The amount of $392,466 will not be raised by taxation. This article does not include appropriations in any other warrant articles. The school board does not recommend this appropriation 5-0. The budget committee does not recommend this appropriation 5-2. Motion made to open Article 2 for discussion by Ms. Marie. No. Ms. Marie is back. Seconded by Maureen Stewart. Thank you. The moderator recognizes Mr. Doug Shute.
We cannot live with this budget, this cut of $177,176.09. That's, didn't realize when they did this budget, special ed went up to $267,435,000, which was a 10% increase over last year. And then nobody got a raise last year. Only 2 people in the school district. One was the business administrator, and one was the superintendent. Nobody got a pay raise. So the pay raise for everybody this year would be $62,132.80. And I would like to make a motion that we add back $150,000 back to this budget. And that's my total and my I want everybody to realize this last year we had $123,000 left in last year's budget. And only one warrant article passed for 60. So what we gave back to the town was $63,000 only this year. That is a tight budget, people. And we're in a default. And we just can't keep doing that. We can't take care of our kids. If you'd like to find out what the budget committee cut, I have a long list. I gave it to everybody. It should be this sheet at the top. It should receive January 28th. It tells you what they cut. Am I allowed to read these?
You're allowed to speak.
Okay, now, people can see what was cut on that sheet.
No, you can first, let me get the second.
Okay.
I need you to get the second one.
Get names.
The second one.
Second amendment.
Okay, so I have an amendment on the floor to raise $150,000 additional dollars to the bottom line budget for a new total of $10,815,719.59. You have a motion in a second. The amendment is open to discussion.
Did everybody pick that list up on the cuts that received January 22nd, 2020? Those are the cuts. All right. Software, $850. ACH test, $3,600. MES travel, $100. That was out of guidance. The next one is the Office of the Principal. Elementary maintenance agreement, $3,426.96. High school maintenance agreement, $1,895. MS printing, $300. High school printing, $300. The next one is operation of buildings and etc. Repair of buildings at MES, $20,934. Repair of buildings at Newton, $31,072. Care of the grounds, $1,272. Phones, $927.36. That was MES. Phones at Newton, $1,331.03. Now let's go to other instructional programs. HS athletic salaries, $13,650. High school co-curricular salaries, $770. High school umps and reps, $6,000. MS co-curricular salaries, $2,100. High school co-curricular supplies, $500. MS co-curricular, $500. High school new equipment, $4,250. MS new equipment, $1,400. MS co-curricular travel, $150. I might leave something else, I apologize if I do. High school co-curricular dues, $500. Regular education, middle substitutes, people who need substitutes in schools, $6,437.51. MS books, digital, this is the, I think this is the new math program.
Oh, no.
Okay, I apologize. That's $2,089. High school new equipment, $3,325. SAU function, business administrator, $4,143. Maintenance agreements at the SAU, $600. School board advertising, $111.46. And special ed, $1,000. Back side of the page, technology, tech services, $3,517.73. IT software, $1,723.85. And transportation, bus repairs. Buses are in trouble, people. That's why we're asking for them. We want to cut $15,741.48. Bus leases, $11,105. Bus, that was MES, I apologize. Bus lease at Newt, $15,895. And high school field trips, $1,900. And vocational education, EO, student transportation, $271.27. I thank all of you very much.
Humphrey Williams is going to give you a response or an explanation of the question.
Yeah, the vote, I'm going to talk about the vote that we had as far as why we rejected it. It's for the exact opposite reason that Mr. Shi was talking about. I have gone through all of the expenditures for the last few years. Those cuts that we're talking about were based on what was being expended on average over the past few years, as well as what's on track to be spent this year. Their budget this year, as of the end of December, when we looked at it throughout, is showing a potential surplus of over $500,000. Now, I'm not saying that's where they're going to end up. That's just what it shows at this point. Cuts that we made were based on history of expenditures, or lack of expenditures, okay? As well as what wasn't spent up through the end of November at the time we made the cuts. Now, we're recommending that they could still cut more. That was the reason why we changed our vote. The $177,000 was after we went through and went from $377,000 cut down to $177,000. To have it now proposed to turn around and give them back another $150,000 is like we're not cutting anything. In this day and age, we cannot afford to continue this letting the money climb out of the box when we're seeing surpluses. The January 8th school board meeting, they talked specifically about having the surplus, so it's not just my word. You can go back and look at it. They expressed that they would have in excess of $500,000 at the end of this year, so that's where we're at.
Share it, right? Please. Did you want to speak?
In regards to the cuts, I've been at the budget committee meetings, and they have asked a lot of questions, and they have done a lot of digging. I was actually, and no offense to anybody on the school board, I was disappointed in the, when they would ask for information, there was a lot of offense taken. There was a lot of, we don't know have that with us. We don't know if we can give you that information. That happened quite a bit. I know that there was software issues, but I do feel like that a lot of questions were not answered to the budget committee that I think should have been available. I also had a discussion with somebody who said that, the paperwork would be outrageous to have to bring for all of the information that you would need, but I think that a laptop would suffice to be able to have all the information on it. There was a lot of times where the information just was not available. And I think that it's the responsibility of the school board to give that information to the people.
There is an additional thing I forgot to mention. We went and looked at those line items as far as where to cut. However, what Mr. Schutt's not telling you at this point is we can't tell them where to spend the money. That's a bottom line budget cut, and money can be moved around according to how the school board and the school administration chooses to do so. We can't tell them how to spend the money. But under bus leases, I did want to address that what we cut out was a van that was going to be purchased. And the amount of money that's cut out of those leases was that van. It wasn't to stop the leases on the buses that are needed. So that was one of the cuts that was in there.
If you remember, the amount that the budget committee cut was 177. And what I asked for was 150. Well, in that figure, we took that van out. Okay, I'm not asking for that money for that van at this point, because we got something else coming later down the road. So it was removed. And let me get something else straight. On November 15th, when they made these cuts, they went on the back, they said, everything wasn't encumbered, all right? And we in our office looked at the tape. They said it 66 times that they said that everything was encumbered, and that was true. It's not true. That's true, the fact it said that. If you go to my minutes, every month, I will ask my business administrator, you can ask my board members, I say to them, is everything encumbered? And you know what he'll tell me? No, not 100%. So nothing is good. Nothing is going to be totally encumbered at November 15th, maybe toward the end of the year. And that's where the premise of a lot of these cuts came from. If you go back and watch the budget committee's the hearing on that date. And I don't know whether the $50,000 he's talking about is a surplus, because last year we only had 123 left.
Maureen.
So just to be clear, we're talking about a budget that runs from July 1st through the end of June, correct?
Correct.
And we're trying to make a forecast in November about the end of June. Do I have that right? Okay. My question was, in looking at this, I'm wondering to myself, how many of these cuts are being required out of items that are contracted? The contractual obligations that the town's already made, contracts that have been signed for maintenance and whatnot. And that's that in addition to just confirming when the time frame was, I guess, were my two questions that came to mind.
So, the question was, what if any of that money is coming out of, how much is contractually obligated? Nathan?
Out of that specific 177,000, none of it was contractual.
Okay. here in the audience? Before I recognize somebody else back in the budget meeting, because we've gone back and forth. John.
As far as contractual for high school and middle school sports, athletics, these are spring sports, am I correct, Jim? That they haven't been, we don't have a contract yet for spring sports, so therefore, it isn't encumbered until we hire the person to do the spring sports, that's when it gets encumbered. And also the repairs, the playground and the field, and all that, that's all spring.
Okay. Ms. Baker.
I just want to be very clear on your process. Are you also, did you raise any of the other lines that were overspent at the time? Because you tend to, or your way of budgeting is to cut lines that have not been spent fully. Did you take into consideration those lines that had been overspent?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we looked at the entire budget. When looking at the budget process, we're looking at, and I'm looking at histories too. We're looking at what has been spent, what's been overspent, what's been underspent. So when we made these cuts, it was based on all of that information. So yes, because there are some items in here that also got added in. They were not in the original budget. We didn't touch those lines. We only went to look at, in other words, I didn't go back, we didn't take anything away. They added that in and we left it there. So,
But those lines that were overspent, that they didn't increase, did you increase them?
they are increased in the budget, in the total budget. We don't touch the overall budget. What they gave us for a proposal included their increase. There are increases in there that are still in there. We're only talking about the cuts. But yes, there are increases that were increased and they stayed increased in the budget. To address your question, the answer is yes. There were issues, that there were line items that were increased.
By the budget committee.
They were increased in conjunction with what they presented to us
Can
too.
everybody hear what Mr. Humphries is saying when he responds back to the If you can, if anyone in the room ever doesn't hear what we're saying, if you just go like that, we'll know. Okay.
To answer your question, yes, they've been increased on some of these line items as well. The majority of what was increased was what they presented to us, not something that we went back at. Because they haven't overspent their line items as of the midpoint of the year.
So you also don't know whether they would be spending that money later.
No, we asked those questions. This wasn't just a decision we made in the closet. We made this through asking a series of questions. We made this through going through all of the histories. We made it through going through all of the expenditures, and we made it through looking at all the projections. This wasn't just a one-time thing. This was multiple meetings, and then the end result.
I understand that, but I also understand in other contexts, you would cut specific lines and not increase lines that were overspent.
But this is a review of a budget request. So when the budget request comes in, the number that they're looking for particular line items is the number in their request. We wouldn't look at that number and say, well, for last year you overspent, so this year we're going to give you a whole bunch of extra money because we want to make sure you got enough money. We look at the request, and if the request makes sense, then we move to the next item.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
That's true.
Okay, thank you.
But to address this, the special education line was increased considerably because of the fact that additional needs are out there. And we recognize that. We didn't ask to cut that. When, after we sat and went through all of it, that increase stayed there. The increase of what was being asked for was still there. So there are things that were increased. I know you're asking this in conjunction with how things, it's done differently here than it is with the town, but the same basic process has been done, okay?
All right.
I think one of the key areas here is we're all trying to predict what there will be at the end. The one thing when you did the town, the way the town worked is you knew where you were when you did this because they were at the end of the year. Now, if we went back and we did the same exercise that everybody's put a great deal of work in, because this group has done a great deal of work, who's done a great deal of work. If we did this in April or May, we would be closer to what the end would look like. You know, you can't almost predict the game at the start of the game until it's near the end of the game. So, with this being said, this year default, we had the least left over at the end of the year than we've had in the last 3 or 4 years. So what we're really taking a look at is the $150,000 going to be excess or whatever the case is? A good school budget, over the many years I've done this, is 2%. Your 2% that you didn't spend, or hopefully you're not 2% above what you spent. 2% of what we're looking at is 200,000. So really what we're philosophically talking about, trying to make a prediction, where is the surplus going to be? If the best and worst scenarios occur, where the surplus does indeed, for whatever the case is transpires over the next 5 or 6 months, the town gets those funds back. The school does not spend them. The fund balance does not go back to the school. It goes back to the town. So really, we're saying in perfect, not perfect, but the rule of thumb is 2%. The 150 either way, whichever way the game ends, or falls at the end of the year. So was asked a key question by Mrs. Steer, was very correct. What is the timetable here? So really we're trying to make a prediction of where that is going to be. And in terms of the contract, they may not be contracts per se, but as said, the softball coach has a contract. The teachers have a certain contract where certain extra things have to be paid for. They haven't been named, so it hasn't been encumbered. And apparently Mr. Castle has a new system that he's trying to work with, and in it, this is the first year of it, so therefore he's trying to really know what is there and what is not. So in addition to make the prediction, this year's a little bit unique because in fact, it isn't to that point yet. So that makes it even more severe in terms of trying to ascertain where we're going to be.
Jen?
Hi, Jan Radowitz, principal at Newt. I just wanted to note that as of November 15th, we had not encumbered yet our spirit coach, our middle school girls basketball coach. We hadn't paid a single referee or spring baseball, softball umpire. We hadn't transported any of our students in basketball, softball, or baseball to a game. We had not purchased the equipment, baseballs, bats, basketballs yet. So at that point in November, we had actually spent less than half of our athletic budget.
Doug, and then a member of the budget committee, and then you.
What I want to bring up right now, this is our operating budget, what we're going to be looking at this coming Wednesday on the school board. And what we have left right now, January 31st, is $925,593.31. That's 8.8% left. Nate, may I ask Nate Castle a question? Nate Castle? I can't know. Is everything encumbered? Okay, so there's still things in this budget that is not encumbered. So I don't know, maybe there's a misunderstanding between the budget committee and us. I don't know where this $500,000 surplus is, people. Okay, I do not. It's not in this budget. Any money that we get that comes in extra, you have not given me permission to spend. I cannot spend. That's the law. If I do it, I'll get impeached.
Yeah, Thomas McDougall, Chairman of the Budget Committee. Something I'd like everybody to know is we didn't approach the school budget saying, oh, we're going to take a bunch of money out. Don't think that we don't care about educating the kids. We looked at not only where we're at with the current 2019-2020 budget, but also historically with all of the previous year's budgets and expenditures that the school gave us. And part of what we did with, talking about taking money out of athletics, was looking at previously in previous years, maybe we haven't historically had a wrestling coach, but yet we are budgeting for wrestling. And I'm making this up, don't think that we have that. But what I'm saying is that maybe we look to see where we have been budgeting for teams that we haven't had historically. And I just threw wrestling out there because I used to wrestle when I was in high school. I may not look like fun, but so it's, we didn't just look at, don't get the mistaken impression, we looked at just this year. And we looked at previous year's budgets and where the monies had not been fully expended out of those budgets. And that was part of how we, a large part actually, of how we came up with, we believe that there's extra money has been allocated in this portion of the budget with the full expectation and realization that this truly is a bottom line budget, so that if, say we took $600 out of a maintenance line for new middle school, and you find out you need $650 because you've got to replace 3 toilets, that the school board can move the money around from somewhere that is not going to be expended, perhaps a athletic team that isn't being funded because we don't have students for it, move that into, spend that money for to replace the toilet. So don't think that we just looked at 19-20 budget. We didn't. We looked at all the budgets and expenditure reports that we had gotten from the school for previous years. And we also tried to pay very close attention to, okay, not touching special education because we don't know how that's going to change. Trying to pay attention to where salaries may have gotten moved around, which is one thing with, if you adopt the default budget, if you change salary lines around, you can't carry those salary line changes through because they weren't necessarily that way in the default budget. So that's just something else to remember, that if we run a chance of the town voting saying, oh, this budget number for the default is lower than what was proposed, so I'm going to go vote for the lower number, which we have seen happen very often, that, you know, when you are trying to make changes to combine a secretary to have her cover more than one position, you can't do that. Account for that. But the biggest message is we did look at historical data. We didn't just look at what have you spent, what have you told us you're going to spend in 19 and 20. We looked back, I think, going back to 2016, 2015-16 budget, up until present, to make some of these decisions. And again, as an example would be the athletic teams, where we saw that we were budgeting for teams that we would like to have, but historically we haven't had enough students to field a team. So we said, okay, maybe that's somewhere we can save some money in the budget. Okay, so don't think that we went in willy-nilly slashing. Yes, we took money out, but we also took money out with the expectation and realization that it is bottom line budget and monies can be moved around.
Al Goodwin, live here in town, I'm graduating from you, currently coaching at the school. 4 years ago, I had ended or chosen to resign from coaching cheerleading here at the school. The coach that took over had to leave on medical leave, so for the past 3 years, there hasn't been a team, because there hasn't been a qualified coach there. This year, I have an opportunity within my work and my life to be able to come back and bring the program back, which is, I feel, been a great asset, and giving kids that don't necessarily play basketball a chance to participate in a different sport. Had the budget been cut for that coaching, because if there wasn't a team for a year or two, there wouldn't be an opportunity to hire a coach, the opportunity wouldn't be there. So, looking at the sizes of our middle school sports team, I understand we haven't had a girls basketball team in high school for a couple of years. If we cut that out, we cut out the opportunity for those kids when they come. So, I pay the taxes, they suck. But we looked at all of that before we moved into the town. I don't want to pay for those, but I also don't want to take an opportunity away from kids because for that roller coaster year, we don't have a team for a couple years. But I'm looking at the middle school sports programs, and the teams are huge. I coached junior varsity volleyball this year, and Coop and I had a JV and a varsity team, which we haven't had in a couple of years, but we were able to make that happen. Leanne had a phenomenal sized team in the middle school. Those kids will be coming up. Had we taken JV coaching out, we would not have that opportunity. Looking at all the 8th graders coming up from basketball, I feel very confident that next year we'll have a high school basketball team. So if we cut it, we don't have a off the coach, we don't have an opportunity for that program. So I just want to keep in mind that sometimes you have to wait a couple of years, sports specifically, for those programs to be built. I mean, even when I was in school here, when I was in middle school, there was no soccer team. And then, or in elementary school, there wasn't a soccer team. 2 years there wasn't. I get over here to middle school, and we had a phenomenal soccer program. But it's just that roller coaster of student interest, and we don't want to cut those opportunities out for when they do arise.
Doug, I'd like to have Nate Castle go up and tell you what's fixed and our budget, what's not fixed. We have to fix this.
Out of the original proposed budget for the FY21, if you take salaries, benefits, and contractual obligations out, we were only left with controllables of about $385,000 for the whole budget.
Point of order here, just a reminder, we're talking about the amendment, or at least that's what's on the floor, the amendment. Now, I realize it affects the bottom line in the whole budget, but at some point, we vote on the amendment, whether or not, because if you approve the amendment, then it might make some of the comments moot. So, is anyone, you got one more, okay. You have one more, I'm going to mirror Mr. McDougall's comments. You know, this isn't about us wanting to take anything away from the students. And, you know, I'm all in favor. Trust me, I've been in education myself in my past career, so I'm all in favor of making sure that we give the students what they need. In regards to the number of line items we cut, he showed you there's 36 line items. That's out of 656 line items. Okay, and again, what we cut was just areas that we're looking at out of the total budget. It doesn't mean that those line items are gone, okay? It's not gonna take away and I'm gonna just address that, Al, it's not gonna take away a JV coach necessarily, okay? I mean, we're not looking at how they're gonna spend the money. We're looking at just where it is to save some of the money. So again, that was 36 out of 656 line items that we addressed to reduce. Doug?
I move the question.
Do you want to say something to the motion? Before I correct anything.
I'll withdraw.
No, I just want to say, I just recognize some people are not. Mr. Brown, please. You gotta give me somebody. We all.
Larry Brown. I will say that these comments apply to the whole budget. They apply to the amendment that Doug has brought forward. cuts that are proposed. I have been, very probably, the person here who has indirectly served more time on the budget committee and school board combined. And there are several things. One, special ed. I taught it. I handled what's called the individualized written plan for rehabilitation in my agency, in education, it's the IEP. I am very familiar with the requirements for confidentiality, which has a direct impact on the questions you can ask for funding in special ed. Keep that in mind. Secondly, Nate is working under the joy of a new system which is not amenable to the information that has been put in year by year to show expenses. Thirdly, we're dealing here with a false year. The school board year, the school year runs from July 1st, June 30th. We are a year and a half out, basically. And to talk about what has been encumbered now is still premature for the expenses of the district. You saw this morning the linear expense of road repair. Simple. Pat said that it costs $105,000 per mile to put a 2-inch shim on the road. That's perfect. That is absolutely not what a school district does. There is not a single expense that you can call linear, so that if you had $120 for the year, you spend 10, comes the end of the year, $120. That does not work. It does not work to try to sell last night's hotel room. It's not there anymore. It does not help to talk about past expenses. Every year the school district faces is a new year. You don't get last year twice. And to try to predict this year's expenses by cutting expenses from last year is wonderful paper exercise. It is wonderful detail. It is a lot of detail work the company put into it. And Dennis, it is not going to tell you the answer. The superintendent said every year 2%. You got told this morning, for those who are here, that the Government Finance Officers Association, GOFA, recommends that you keep 16% of your operating budget in a rainy day fund. The school district cannot do that. The only thing that it can do is try to estimate expenses so there is money left. That money does not go to Aruba. That money goes back into the general fund. The money does not go back for the town to spend it directly. It is lost to the school district. It returns to the voters of the town. Right now, we are earning between, as I said this morning, between 2.15 and 6.5% on those funds which are held by the town. That's good chicken. The last point would be right now. Gas has gone down to Cumberland from $2.49 to $2.45. Hey, we got an overinch. And if you have a budget which out of $10 million can be so good that it is within $200,000 of its total expenses, when you have teachers getting additional training, where you have teachers leaving, where you have teachers coming in at grade credentialing, where you have the extraordinary expenses, as Peg Hurd faced in her district, of 14 special ed students coming into her Rochester district at a cost of, was it $200,000 each for transportation. if you do not have a budget that can accept those things, you can take this part off here, you can take this part off here, you can this part off here, this part off here, and you do not have a single 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that you can write out a decent plan for your kids. Thank you.
Good afternoon, folks. I won't be anything, I won't be here as long as Larry Brown, but thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. My name's Andrew Ross, and I'm a selectman in town. And I just want to say that, one, I'm not anti-school. I can guarantee you that. I've had children go through this school, I have a grandson in this school. But what I will say is, I've had people in this room here today, okay, that have come up to me and have said, Andy, I'm selling my house. I'm out of here, okay? And I hate to hear people talk about this, okay? I've helped people in this room, this very room, get abatements for their homes, okay? So where I'm going with this is, we need to all do our due diligence. We need to work together and find a happy medium where we can educate our children, because it is our responsibility. But we have to do it in a fashion where we have elderly people that live in this town that have talked to me this week saying, Andy, how am I gonna pull this off? You know, they live on fixed incomes. We have blue-collar people living in this town. And we need to work together as a team and find a happy medium where we can have a budget that works for everybody. So hopefully we can do that here today. But, we just need to be diligent on, how much money we're spending here and there, because, the cost, if you bring the school budget up 300,000, that's a lot in tax rate. But, so I'm just throwing that out, that, we need to do our due diligence again, and let's see if we can figure this all out together as a team here today.
The proponent of the amendment is asked that you move the question and bring it to the floor for vote. Anyone object? Anyone else want to speak? You want to move it forward? Okay. So, let me reread or paraphrase the article. So it's to raise and appropriate the sum, and the new sum would be $10,815,719.59 for adding $150,000 to the bottom line budget. The rest of the article, with respect to, let's say, the default, would not change. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your cards. All those opposed? 11 opposed. Well, the motion carries. The new bottom line budget is $10,815,719.59. So we're back on the floor for the whole Article 2. Discussion, comments, any other proposed amendments?
I move the question.
There's been a motion to move the question. Before I recognize, does anyone else wish to speak to, for, against, or about this particular Article number 2, that is new value of $10,815,719? Not seeing any. Let's see, I have to go back and look my own process procedure. It's been a while. Motion made essentially to close Article 2 for discussion and to restrict reconsideration. All those, motion was made by Doug, do I have a second for that? Ms. Marie? All those in favor of closing further discussion article and restricting reconsideration, please raise your balance. And against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. Nay votes are important. In the previous meeting, the only reason we got the backup on, I think it was Article 5, is that we had one nay vote in the audience. Robert's rules of order is only someone in the negative can bring an article back to the floor, so we follow those rules. That's why I count those votes are important. So I'll instruct the clerk to place warrant articles number 2 on the second section ballot as you have amended it. With that, the moderator is going to take a minor break and turn the floor over to Ms. Marie to read Article 3 and carry you through.
Article 3, shall the Milton School District approve to approve the cost items included in the collaborative bargaining agreement reached between the Milton School Board and the Milton Education Association, which calls for the following increase in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels over the amount paid in the prior fiscal year. Estimated increase year 2020 to 2021 is $170,080.43, with an estimated tax impact of 35 cents per thousand. Year 2021 to 2022, $145,520.74 is an estimated tax impact of 30 cents per thousand. Year 2022 to 2023 is $116,100.84, estimated tax impact of 24 cents per thousand. And to further raise and appropriate the sum of $170,080.43 for the 2020-2021 school year, such sum representing the additional cost attributed to the increase in salaries and benefits over these of the appropriation at current staffing levels paid in the prior fiscal school year. The school board recommends this appropriation 5-0. Budget committee recommends this appropriation 5-2. Motion made to open the Article 3 for discussion. Maureen Stewart. Seconded. I'll vote. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion passes. And we recognize Ms. Pegford to speak on behalf of this article.
Thank you. What I hope that people have done is pick up the blue copy in the back, and I really do not need to read it. I will highlight some points, but if you can read it, thank a teacher. Anyway, this contract is a 3-year contract. We honestly feel as though it's a very good contract. The teachers have not had an increase, did not have an increase last year. In the last maybe 6 years, they've not had an increase twice. So bottom line is Bob was hired 2 years ago on step 1. That was it, brand new teacher. Been here for 2 years, really learned a lot, really moved forward, great teacher. Oh, and this year, Mary was hired, brand new teacher. guess what? No experience. She is on the same step, making the same amount as a person who is now in their third year. Really not all that fair, but anyway. The other thing, when we were negotiating this year, part of the new language that they agreed to is you're on a plan, an improvement plan, you don't get a step the following year, which is going to really make teachers go, okay, if I'm not gonna get any money, then obviously I need to work to improve my teaching, my classroom management skills, whatever. They also agreed to go from the Cadillac insurance plan to a higher deductible. Even though the school district, we still do have the cap, it is a savings for everybody around. So I don't know if you have any questions, but when you stop and think, teacher contractually works 7.5 hours per day for 185 days a year. I think that works out to 1,100 hours. Teacher's day does not end there. Planning, prepping, grading. An awful lot of time is spent. I am a retired teacher, so I can honestly say that. I taught science, so I planned, but then my prepping included setting up my lab, getting everything out, making sure I had everything. Lab reports are not the same thing as maybe correcting a one-page math. Oh, yep, correct answer, correct answer, correct answer. So we're talking about a lot of time that is spent by a teacher. And Milton teachers are the lowest paid in the area. So anyway, that is it. I want you to really be able to read the blue sheet, okay? As I said, if you can read it, thank a teacher.
Is there any questions from the
You were projected in the next 5 years, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, just possibly have 12 retired teachers. You're gonna need to attract good teachers to come in and take over. Now, this last year, we lost a good teacher who had not been here very long, and the person left. I think this is a good contract. I was on the team. I fought very hard. And I think it's a real good contract. Thank you.
Any other further comments? I'll entertain a move the question. So motion made by Peg to restrict and consider.
Second.
Tom, do you have a second?
Mr. Brown, second.
In favor? Of closing the article?
Say it loud.
Did not hear what you said?
All in favor to close the article?
Oh, sorry.
Opposed?
Thank you. So the monitor will instruct the clerk to place Article 3 on the ballot as read. Did a good job. Talk to me about that later, I can tell. Article 4, shall the Milton School District, if Article 3 is defeated, authorize the school board to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 3 costs only. The school board recommends the article 5-0. Is there a motion made to open Article 4 for discussion? Okay, second, Larry Brown. All those in favor of discussing Article 4, please raise your ballots. Anyone opposed? We are discussing Article 4. Anyone wish to, Peg, do you wish to speak to the article?
This is only that if, and I hope it does not fail, but if Article 3, the teacher contract fails, we want to be able to reconvene and renegotiate hopefully and then present something to the voters again, so. Thank you, but please.
Further questions, comments, considerations regarding Article 4? Not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion to move the question. Maureen Spear, second by Larry Brown. Close further discussion of Article 4 and further restrict reconsideration for the remainder of the day. All those in favor, raise your ballots. Those opposed? Thank you. We have one opposed? Two? Sorry. That, I'll instruct the clerk to place warrant Article 4 on the second session ballot as read. Article 5. Shall the Milton School District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to purchase library media for the new high school and library? This is a special warrant article appropriation. The school board recommends this appropriation 5-0. Its estimated tax impact is 1 cent per thousand. The budget committee recommends this appropriation 4-3. Motion made to open Article 5 for discussion by. Seconded by Maureen Steer. All those in favor of discussing Article 5, please raise your ballots. Anyone opposed? You are discussing Article 5. The moderator recognizes Paul Steer to speak to the article.
Good afternoon, everyone. This article, it's the same article that's been on the ballot for quite a few years now. It allows us to get updated media and reference material for the library, for the school, for the students to use, as well as being that's a shared library with the town. The town also benefits from that also. So it's the same article we have every year, so it should be pretty much a no-brainer. You know, the more we go forward on the media, the better off we are.
Questions, comments, other considerations with respect to Article 5? Not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion to close discussion and limit further reconsideration of Article 5. By Peg Steer, second by Thomas McDougal. I'm just moving right along. Thomas flying. You'll be surprised when come out. That's it, Peg Steer. All those in favor of limiting consideration, thank you. All those opposed? The moderator will. Go over here, Bill. Go 4.
Thank you. I'm sorry, can you go back just a second? I didn't give you the motion for it.
Peg Steer.
Maureen Hurd.
Go ahead.
Maureen Steer.
Thank you.
Have fun. I'll instruct the clerk to place warrant Article 5 on the second session ballot as read. Article 6. To avoid the need to raise additional taxes, shall the Milton School District use funds to come from a one-time increase in the district's adequate education grant under RSA 198:41 to be received from the state of New Hampshire in 2021 fiscal year in the sum of $172,951 for the design and construction of improvements in the renovation and replacement of the air handling system at the Milton Elementary School and the fire alarm and emergency management systems at the new middle/high school in the Milton Elementary. This will be a non-lapsing special warrant article pursuant to RSA 32:7, Roman numeral 6, and will not lapse until the improvements are completed or by June 30th, 2024, whichever is sooner. This article will not result in additional taxation. The school board recommends the appropriation 5-0. Budget committee recommends this appropriation 7-0. Motion made to open Article 6 for discussion by Wood, right? Sherry Wood. Seconded by Peg. You wait. All those in favor of opening Article 6 for discussion? Anyone opposed? We are open. The moderator recognizes Doug Shute to speak to the article.
I'm back. Okay, it's the purple sheet. This is the second half of that money we got from, it was a gift. It was, really should have been unanticipated, but they said anticipated. So what we're going to be able to do, we've done the engineering study on the air handler, the fire alarms, and we've started the project on the air handler and MES because we had enough money, but we did not have enough money to do one of the fire alarms. So we've got the money now, and now we're going to set it aside to let us. And what we're going to do is take the parts out of one building and save them to use them in the other building in case the alarm, fire alarm goes down. And it will not raise your property tax at this point. Thank you.
Questions, comments, considerations with respect to this article? Mr. Brown.
Okay, a very simple one. Line 7, where it begins, Milton/high school and the Milton Elementary. For consistency, should it also say school, question mark? And if so, I make that motion. If there's no second, it's unimportant.
Is there a second to a friendly amendment by Mr. Brown to add the word school after Milton Elementary? There's a second by Paul Steer. So we have an amendment on the floor. All those wanting to discuss, comment, or otherwise discuss amendment 1, which is to add school. Not seeing any, the moderator will ask for a vote. All those in favor of adding school after the words Milton Elementary, please raise your ballot. Anyone opposed? None opposed, so you have amended the article to add the word school. Further discussion, questions, comments? Not seeing any, the moderator calls for a vote or calls for a motion to close further discussion on Article 6 and to restrict further reconsideration. Mr. Brown has his card. Ms. Pegford is the second to that. All those in favor of closing Article 6? All those opposed? Unanimous. We have closed discussion on closed and further restricting reconsideration Article 6. I'll instruct the clerk to place Article 6 on the second session ballot as amended. Article 7, shall the Milton School District vote to create a capital reserve fund for the purpose of purchasing and maintaining maintenance vehicles for the school district, and to name the school board as agents to expend this fund, and further raise and appropriate up to the sum of $7,000 to be placed in this fund. This is a special warrant article appropriation. School board recommends this appropriation 5-0. Its estimated tax impact is 1 cent per thousand. The school committee recommends this appropriation, the budget committee recommends this appropriation 6-1. Is there a motion made to open Article 7 for discussion? Maureen Steer, second by Peg Bird. All those in favor of discussing Article 7, please raise your ballots. I think you guys are ganging up now. Trying to do that again. Anyone opposed? Article 7 is on the floor for discussion. Moderator recognizes Paul Steer to speak to this article.
Okay, so this article is gonna go along with the next article, Article 8, about the truck. We wanted to, well, we have a fund established, we have since I think 1993 for a school bus fund. I know last year for the voters, it was a hard pill to swallow for a maintenance truck. So what we were trying to do is here is to try to establish a fund. It started out to be $10,000 per year, but we cut it back to $7,000 per year because the vehicle, we had a black Chevy pickup here last year, we just junked out because it would no longer go anymore. We have about 16 years on that vehicle. So if we would put $7,000 in every year, we could get a cycle set up, so we could replace the pickup every 6 or 7 years, and then replace the other vehicle every 6 or 7 years in that area. Oops. So it wouldn't be such a burden on the taxpayers when the time comes. You have to pay, up to $40,000 at a whack for the vehicle. So that's why we try to get this going, to make it a little easier from now on, to keep our maintenance vehicles going, which are not on any type of schedule whatsoever, like plow trucks from town, cruisers, school buses. Our maintenance vehicles just get used and used and used until they break. And we'll go into that in the next article a little bit more so.
Questions, comments? Respect to Article 7. Doug?
We did go out and get quotes about people coming in and doing jobs for us. We paid them to plow and do the big banks back. If you look at the top of this document here, it shows you, and what it shows you, by us doing our own plowing, we pay for that vehicle in less than 3 years. Okay? That's calculated 15 storms. When I calculated this, I did it to the max, but I'm going to say under 3 years. The rest of the years, you'll be saving money. And this, I'm trying to save money like everybody else. This will save you money. Thank you.
Further questions, comments regarding Article 7? Not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion to close discussion on Article 7 and restrict further reconsideration. Made by Peg Bird, second by John in the back room. Your name?
Michael McMurray.
What was that?
Michael McMurray.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. All those in favor of closing and restricting, please raise your ballots. Anyone opposed? Sherry Wood.
Sandy.
Sandy, thank you. Long day, sorry. That is closed. Article 7, I'll instruct the clerk to place warrant Article 7 on the second session ballot as it was read. Article 8, shall the Milton School District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 to purchase a year-round maintenance truck with a plow attachment for the Milton School District. This is a special warrant article appropriation. Note, any funds not used in the purchase of this vehicle will go back to the town. The school board recommends this appropriation 5-0. Estimated tax impact is 8 cents per thousand. The budget committee recommends this appropriation 5-2. Motion made to open Article 8 for discussion by Peg Heard, second by. Yeah, very good. I'll go with Maureen.
Thanks, Norm.
Thanks.
It's okay, by the way.
All those in favor of continuing to discuss Article 8, please raise your ballots. Opposed? Thank you. We are now discussing Article 8. The moderator recognizes next year's this article.
So this is a revisit of last year's warrant article. Since the warrant article failed last year, we graciously donated a truck, one of the old town pickups. I don't know if anybody knows the story on that truck. I think it's been in the garage more than it's been out of the garage. It just went in the last time for a huge oil leak. Like I said, we appreciate it happening, but I just don't know if it's gonna go much longer. This is a year-round vehicle, it's not just for plowing snow, it's for making trips to, you know, Home Depot, whatever we gotta go to haul any objects from one school to another, something like that. If anybody's wondering about any funds not used in the purchase, go back to the town. A couple of townspeople approached us about maybe buying a used vehicle. One of the papers back there shows us for a plow truck, a four-wheel drive plow truck's around $8,000. But we are entertaining, looking at a used vehicle. I mean, with used vehicles, you buy used problems, but it should be a viable alternative right now with the way that, you know, with budgets, the way budgets are and the way that, you know, the taxpayers feel about things. But we do need a second vehicle. We've gone to the town. I mean, all you Facebook warriors out there that see that, why can't the town plow the school? Why can't, the town barely keeps up. You know, people complain about how the town can't keep up. And just last night, why didn't they plow Evergreen Valley Road? And these people want us, you know, the town to come and plow the school, sand the school, do all that maintenance and have it all open by the time 7 o'clock or 6:30 rolls around when the teachers get here. It's not a viable option, so it's up to us to maintain our school properties and let the town do what they need to do. So this is going to be a good forward step towards that. If this gets approved, then we were going to go do some research on vehicles and see if we can get the best bang for the buck for the town and for the school.
Questions, comments, considerations, Mr. Cook? Sandy?
My name is Sandy Woods. I'm just curious whether or not the school board has looked into leasing vehicles, and I'm just curious as to how that plays out.
For commercial vehicles, you can lease a pickup truck or the 1 tons that we use. That's why the town doesn't do that either. They only lease the larger vehicles.
Getting back to, I have a public works department, I can lease my $166,000 6-wheel trucks with plowing and sanding, but I can't lease my $30,000 to $40,000 1-ton trucks. They can't get anybody to buy it. I think it's because the way the wear out of break before the lease period is getting close to being over. So that's all. Just something.
As we look at this, perhaps we can say this in this, but I just want to commend Bob and his crew. When Tim, who's in charge of transportation, and I talk in the AM starting about 4:30, one of the unique things here is that we're constantly calling Bob to see if trucks work. So it's been an unbelievable task. I've been doing this, dealing with school closings for 30 years. This is the first time I had to call the buildings and grounds and see if the truck works. So all I can say is I want to commend him and the crew, and it's kind of unique. And I can't speak to the intricacies of trying to lease and buy and all that, but I do know one thing. There's a tremendous need, and it's very unique, and his crew is doing a tremendous work.
So we're on Article 8. Questions, comments, considerations? Any possible? Any wishing to donate a truck? Funny guy, huh? Seeing nothing, as the moderator, I'll entertain a motion to close Article 8 and restrict further reconsideration of the article for the rest of the day. Mr. Garris makes the motion. And I forgot. Robert Garris. I was going to say. No, exactly. All those in favor of closing the article? Opposed? Standing backward. people name. I will close it. I'll instruct the clerk to place warrant Article 8 on the second session ballot as was read. Article 9. To avoid the need to raise additional taxes, shall the Milton School District use unreserved fund balance, or what's known as surplus, available on July 1, 2020, and raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be placed in the expendable trust fund for the education of educationally disabled children, which was established in 2011. The warrant article will not result in taxation. The school board recommends this appropriation 5-0. Budget committee recommends this appropriation 7-0. Is there a motion on the floor to open Article 9 for discussion? Yeah, I see her. All right, so the motion's been made. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, it's open for discussion. The moderator recommends that Ted Hearn to speak to the article.
As everybody probably knows, special ed can be a moving target. Students come into town requiring services, and individualized education plan or IEP is written, and we are obligated federally to follow that IEP. Sometimes that IEP requires a student to be sent to another district because we really cannot handle whatever their disability is. It may not just be a learning disability, but beyond that. We currently have money in our fund balance, about $214,000. That can be wiped out with 2 students moving into the district and requiring to go out. So we need to continually add to this reserve fund. And if I may say, it's cheaper to maintain a reserve fund than it is to be sued by a parent, because we are not following everything that is in their IEP. Trust me, it's not pretty. So, anyway, that's that.
Further questions, comments, considerations with respect to Article 9? Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'd just like to get clarification on the next couple of articles. We have money coming from surplus. If I'm right, the articles are funded in order of appearance. So if you only have $50,000, the first one gets funded. If you have 75, you might fund the next two. I don't know what the next one's going to be. Crap. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Sussman.
Okay. Sir. Just so you kind of know, right now there was 112 in the buck, I believe, and there's 5 more now that have IEP students that have IEPs. There's 10 before K at MES, 40 at the high school. There's 69, and there's 7 or 8 students that are out that are not at the school, that are outside. And right now there are a handful that they're trying to assess their IEP as to whether they will have an IEP. Correct, Mr. Clark? Okay, so therefore, and also too, you're aware that this is one of the things that various schools including schools around us, have gone into the red on. So this is something that we really have to keep an eye on. And again, I want to commend the staff and the sped staff, qua Vista Qua, and the admin team, because I think a lot of effort is put into helping the students right here at the school. And I think that this is such an important thing, and we try to do it in a cost-effective way. Because I really feel, and I've always felt, that it's important to keep the students here, not only for the costs, but for the fact that I think they can really help the students. I don't want to sound, but I myself had a speech defect to the effect that I didn't start school till the third grade. And I think that it's very important, and this is why I want to commend the staff again for working with all of these students, because it's only through their hard work that, although the sped costs are seemingly high, that we keep them as low as we can. And it's because of the hard work in the prescriptive way and the desire to keep those students here with their hearts that we're allowed to do this. And a great amount of time is spent with the administrative team. I think there's almost not a day that goes by that we don't talk often 24 hours a day on how's it going with this, how can we help them. And I also try to meet them and speak to them and play catch or whatever it takes to try to find out what prescriptive ways we can really help them, because that's why I'm here. I mean, we're here for those students whose parents and whatever are there for them. It's those that do not have a voice, that do have these needs, that we have to ensure that they have a chance.
Other questions, comments, with respect to Article 9? Brown, what was your waiting for? Move the question? Tankard moved the question. Larry Brown seconds it. And this would be to close further discussion Article 9 and to further restrict reconsideration today. All those in favor of doing that, please raise your ballots. Anyone opposed? We have closed and restricted reconsideration on Article 9. I'll instruct the clerk to place the warrant Article 9 on the second session ballot as it is read. Article 10. To avoid the need to raise additional taxes, shall the Milton School District use unreserved fund balance available on July 1, 2020, and raise and appropriate up to the sum of $50,000 to be placed in the Milton School District Building Maintenance, Repair, Renovation, and Capital Project Reserve Fund established in 2005 for the purpose of repairing and maintaining school buildings. No, warrant Article 10 will not result in additional taxation. The school board recommends the appropriation 5-0. The budget committee recommends this appropriation 7-0. Motion made to open Article 10 for discussion by Barbara Garris. Second by Jason Shute. All those in favor of opening Article 10, please raise your ballots. Opposed? We are open for discussion. The moderator recognizes Paul Steer to speak to the item.
All right, so this warrant article continues to fund the maintenance and repair of the buildings. Just for information, right now the fund balance has around $159,000 in it, but we are waiting pending payments of almost $70,000. So this is a very volatile fund, depending on what happens, and And what we find, for instance, last year, $30,000 came out of it because we found an oil tank buried right over here underneath the little area out here in the garden. So that had to be taken care of, so that's where that money came out of. Any major expenditures, breakages, furnace goes, that kind of thing, this is where it comes from. So I want to make sure people understand what the purpose of this fund is for.
Questions, comments, consideration? Article 10.
Right.
Not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion to close Article 10 for further discussion and limit readings, consideration of the rest of the debt. Maureen, second by Bob. Barbara. All those in favor, please raise your ballots. Anyone opposed? Closed and restricted reconsideration on Article 10. I'll instruct the clerk to place warrant Article 10 on the second session ballot. Moving on to Article 11. To avoid the need to raise additional taxes, shall the Milton School District use unreserved fund balance available on July 1, 2020, raise and appropriate up to the sum of $15,000 to be placed in the expendable trust fund for the school bus fund, which was established in 1993. Note, warrant Article 11 will not result in additional taxation. The school board recommends this appropriation 5-0. The budget committee recommends this appropriation 6-1. Motion made to open Article 11 for discussion. Maureen, second by Barbara. All those in favor? Opening Article 11 for discussion, please raise your ballots. Anyone opposed? We are open on the floor on Article 11. The moderator recognizes Doug Shute to speak to the article.
Well, I picked up this packet, which said Article 11 on it. We do look for grants, and we had a SIG grant that ended up August of 2014, and we did buy a bus with a grant, and it was a 16 passenger? 30. Oh, 30 passenger, I'm sorry, I apologize. Okay, and also I want you to go to the second page here on the van. The cost of that van was $27,000 we took out of the budget because we were going to do it this other way, because we have a balance left in our school bus fund created in 1993, it's $18,000. Okay, we're going to put the 15 in there, and that's why we're going to get that van, and that's a spare van.
No, it would be used as a regular special needs vehicle for out-of-district students.
Okay, the other one's broke down now.
Correct.
Okay, now what we did also look at is, we looked at leasing it or purchasing it. We had an interest rate of $3,000, so that would have raised that van's cost up to $30,000. And if we bought an extended warranty with it, this is only an estimate, and Tim Elwood's got the estimate, anywhere from $1,500 to $6,000 for that van. And that's it. And then we did give you where we get the gas and things like that on the second sheet.
Thank you.
Further questions, comments, consideration with respect to Article 11? Seeing none, the moderator will accept the motion to close Article 11 and to restrict reconsideration for the remainder of the day. Hank Bird makes the motion, Barbara Harris seconds. All those in favor, raise your ballots. Anyone opposed? One opposition. I'll instruct the clerk to place warrant Article 11 on the second session ballot as it was read. Moving on to Article 12. To avoid the need to raise additional taxes, shall the Milton School District use unreserved fund balance available on July 1, 2020, raise and appropriate up to the sum of $10,000 from the source to be placed in the Milton School District Technology Expendable Trust Fund established in 2007. Note that the warrant article will not result in additional taxation. The school board recommends the appropriation 5-0. The Budget Committee recommends the appropriation 7-0. Motion made to open Article 12 for discussion by Maureen, seconded by Barbara Garris. All those in favor of opening Article 12, please leave the doubts. Opposed? We are open on 12. The moderator recognizes Peg Heard to speak to the article.
If you pick up the pink sheet, it is going to tell you or show you the rotation. We have had the technology group just do a rotating, how long so many computers can last and when we should be replacing them. This past year, we're unable to purchase, if you look at the bottom part of the pink sheet, year one, devices, 50 at Newt and 20 at MES, because there was not enough money. And last year, this warrant article did not go through. We did purchase 60 this past year for, I believe it was MES. We now have $800 left in the fund balance. So this will be critical to maintain this rotating of the bad ones out and the good ones in. Okay? And technology, today's world is very important for the students, so it's a student thing. Thank you.
Questions, comments, considerations with respect to Article 12? Sir.
Hi, I'm Travis Corvo. I just have a quick question. Are these computers leased or are they purchased outright?
Purchased.
The ones that, can I ask another question? The ones that have died or the ones that are going out, have you looked at upgrading the hardware versus buying an entire new system? Because for example, if a computer dies due to its power supply is like 80 volts, whereas a new system would be up to supply 100 volts.
Okay, so just a part of something,
Right.
i.e. a mouse or whatever.
Or no, but like increasing the memory, increasing the storage capacity.
Shall I recognize Jen Levitt if she understands what's going on and can answer that question?
Sure. So our technology is purchased typically through grants, and so we have a contract through Back Bay. They look at all of our computers and determine what can we do. They usually reach out to me and see what kind of funding we have to figure out what do we need, either new keyboards, mice, new memory, do we just need to keep it plugged in while it's working. They've looked at all of those things before they send them out to be recycled and do whatever we can to upgrade them the best we can. The ones that have been gone to recycled are dead to the point where we cannot do anything with them. So we do look at all of the components before just outright finding new ones and recycling them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, concerns with respect to Article 12? Not seeing any. The moderator will entertain a motion to close further discussion on Articles 12 and restrict reconsideration. Peg Heard, second by Maureen Steer. All those in favor, please raise your ballots. Anyone opposed? We have closed Article 12. I'll instruct the clerk to place the warrant Article 12 on the second session ballot as is read. Article 13, see if the voters of the Milton School District shall direct the Milton School Board to enter into talks with neighboring school districts to determine the feasibility of an area agreement according to RSA 195A for the purpose of sending our high school, middle school students out of district. This was a petition article. Motions made to open Article 13 for discussion by Humphrey Williams, second by Sandy Wood. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Article 13 is on the floor for discussion. Moderator recognizes Humphrey.
I know the petitioner isn't here, and I was asked to address this, and I'm more than happy to address it. Again, I think everyone in this room, as a matter of fact, I know everyone in this room wants a good education for the children. There was nobody opposed to trying to do that. We also have to find a way of saving money and getting them the right education. This petition was put forward because there are a lot of concerned citizens who want to investigate all opportunities to try to find ways to get a good education while saving that money. Right now, just to touch on what's happened today, is if you look at what we just increased on the budget, it's going to cost us an additional 46 cents this next year per thousand. And in 2 years, it'll cost everyone in this room $1 per thousand. So if you look at the average household of about $250,000, it's going to cost everyone about $250 more per, a year. We've got to find ways to save that, and that's what the petition is asking for. It's not saying that the students are going to be moved somewhere else, but there are also other alternatives to possibly bring students in here to find ways to save on this. So that is what that article was intended for. So, thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments, discussions? Beth?
Just one quick question based off what Humphrey just read. It states in the warrant article, for the purpose of sending our high school students out, it doesn't make mention of bringing students in. So, I don't know if it's appropriate or if I can, but can I make a motion to amend that to include bringing students to Milton?
We can't change that, but I know the intent is to try to look at all of them. This is just one way.
On petition articles, you can make amendments that don't change the intent of the petitioner's article. I don't believe adding, in my opinion, adding the wording or bringing students in would, what do you think?
Good boss.
I'm the boss.
That's all I get home.
Then she must be a baby.
Yes.
This, you can't delete the subject matter.
Right.
The subject matter is still there. You can change the intent of it by an amendment. That's permissible. What you can't do is change the subject matter. So in terms of a committee to explore what you're doing, you have the flexibility of doing it. Right?
Yeah.
If there's going to be an amendment, I make a suggestion that a friendly amendment would also be to capitalize the A instead of having a small a. Two different statutes. Right? Capitalize 195A. Yeah.
That was all I had.
So what would your wording actually be? Just if you either make an amendment, we have to know what we're discussing.
So it would basically be to say, for the feasibility of the area agreement according to RSA 195, capital A, for the purpose of sending or receiving students to the high school district. Send students out of or receiving students.
It's not my article. I was just
Right,
addressing
no,
my point, so I don't know.
What do you thought?
If I could, let me just read the start of 195-A:3.
And everybody
I'm
here.
not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you what to do. In any town, city, or special school district, that's what you guys are, pursuant to an article in the warrant for any annual or special meeting, may vote to create an area school planning committee consisting of 3 qualified voters, of whom at least one shall be a member of the school board. The members of the committee shall be elected at the meeting, can't happen here because we don't vote on anything, at which the committee is created, unless the district determines that they shall be appointed by the moderator. There's something else missing in this. We need to have that committee appointed by the moderator. So your friendly amendment would be to add that language as well, and to have the committee appointed by the moderator. If you want to follow the statute, if this is some other ad hoc group and that was the intent, that's fine. Tell me.
Well, I guess if it's not going to be, I mean, based on what you're saying, and and this is only my opinion, if we don't have that moderator part, then this is null and void anyway.
No, you just have confusion. You're just saying that you're directing the school board to do it. And the school board could investigate that. That's fine if you want to do that. If you want to make it compliant with the statute, you've got to have an official committee appointed under the statute. My problem is that I'm looking at this and somebody's trying to make this, it's petitioners, and there's an intent, it seems to me, to say that the petition article is drawing on RSA 195 -A, which is the area statute. That's all appropriate, but there's a hole in it. And it doesn't mean that it's improper or invalid, it means that it leaves you in a state of confusion about the authority of that committee to act. And you either clear it up or you don't. It's up to you.
As the school district moderator, where it only says to determine the feasibility, I don't really think a committee needs to be formed.
It's fine.
Because me speaking as the moderator, I think it's clear enough to say to the school district, determine the feasibility. Now, if they were to determine the feasibility, I think the next step would be to form the committee to actually enter into.
Quite possible.
And I'll tell you one side reason why. My wife last night sat down and took the budget and back figured for the number of kids and came up with a figure of what that was per student. And she said, well, what do you think of that? Probably in the middle. I know there's data out there, and you can look at what Hollis, Durham, Hampton are paying to educate their kids on the high end. You can look at what Hart's location, Dixville, I'm being facetious, I know they don't even have high schools. But I'm saying there's a range. I think we've always fallen in the middle. So, for instance, if you asked Hampton, we could get the kids down there, they might tell you, sure, take what you'd normally pay, add $4 grand to it, and come on in. So in other words, the feasibility may not be there. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
The feasibility may be that the local high schools don't have the capacity for another year or two until they make it, I don't know. So I think it's reasonable to ask the board to look at the feasibility, but I don't believe it was the intent of the petitioner to, because he used the word to enter into the actual agreement or negotiate said agreement. Mr. Sussman?
One of the interesting things, in order to be proactive, the board had formed a committee that I took some names for. That looks like a very good committee, looks like some very good people on it, some of which are here. So I'm just looking at that in the parameters of trying to unravel all of this. So I guess what you're saying is then it goes back to the school board and they can review their action in terms of forming the group, right?
Yeah.
That's
fair. That's fair.
Is it even feasible?
Okay, so just to be clear, no motion can be made, that's all I'm asking. A motion can be So a motion can be made to amend that language to.
Yeah, we're kind of in the budget, he has a motion and I have a committee, so like we're kind of looking at what do we do from here.
I would like to see as moderator, someone make a motion to clear up the 195 -A. Minimum. Sorry, capital.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown?
what is the moderator's wish on capital A? Do you wish a motion for that?
Motion to amend the article to read RSA 195 hyphen capital A. Got it.
So moved.
Okay. Made by Mr. Brown, seconded by Maureen Steer. Further discussion to the amendment on the floor. Question?
Discussion. Back when Gail Cushing was here, and I was the chair of the Stratford Regional Planning Commission, we prepared maps for the school district. Very simple. We took all the neighboring districts and took a 10-mile circle around each one of those districts for transportation feasibility. The second point that comes in is capacity feasibility. Very simple. You ask the district what their capacity is, whether they want anybody coming in, how much they would charge. The next question is time feasibility. Do you have the bus transportation system that can both do your transportation for your elementary and middle school as well as your high school? Last feasibility is financial. If you buy wholesale, are you going to sell wholesale? What Chris just said, $40,000 on top of your tuition cost, sure, that's feasible. The superintendent is already addressing those issues. The subtext message here is whether or not sending students out will reduce our costs. I doubt it. Bringing students in might reduce some costs. There has been discussions with Wakefield about creating some of the bonds that we had with them before. I was on the last feasibility committee we had. My conclusion at that time was for goodwill and hope to then stay with Wakefield. That did not work out. You also have to consider, as I'm sure Jen has already been thinking, the idea of timelines. You're committing an 8th grade student going into 9th grade for 4 years, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 6 years, 4 years. During that time, you have to have classes in place that will give them their degree at the end. If someone comes in and the district fails after 2 years, what do you do with someone who is now not able to complete their sequences? It is a nice idea. I think it fails on the question of feasibility and the restrictive nature of sending the students out of the district. Thank you for your additional time.
Esther?
I didn't see you over there. All I saw was a hand.
Most people think that I'm sleeping over there, and I'm not. I'm listening very intently. This has been a hot topic for way more years to be discussed. I think it behooves all of us here to remember we already had land donated. We had a school ready to go. We had it all in our hands. And Wakefield shut down twice. Therefore, in my estimation, go back and look at those stinking plans again and figure out what we can do to work for our kids. Because our kids at this point feel like Farmington doesn't want us, Wakefield doesn't want us, Rochester doesn't want us, Somersworth doesn't want us, Dover doesn't want us. How many other places don't want new kids? We want Newt to stay here, so fix this, and fix it well. Our kids deserve more than the discussion we've been having here. Thank you for listening.
All right, so we have an amendment on the floor. Let's handle that first, and that is to change RSA 195 type in capital A. And seconded. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your ballots. Those opposed? The amendment passes. Further discussion with respect to Article 13. Now, you want to speak to it? Yeah, move it.
No, speak.
Speak to it.
Just a quick thing, I know it's going to be a long process if this passes. We have a lot of work to do, but I mean, going on what Esther said, you know, Rochester doesn't want us, for the kids in the district right now, and they see this stuff on Facebook and they hear about their tax money, apparently the town of Milton doesn't want them either. So, you know, that's something that needs to be fixed. And unfortunately, you know, being on the school board and seeing all the talk and seeing all the hype and what's going on, it sounds like the majority of this whole thing is we pay too much for taxes. We're not taking anybody's, the person who brought this forward says we need to leave emotions out of it. So it's basically a financial decision with nobody else's thought that's actually going through this in mind. And I don't care how you look at it. I have a student, my son is going to be a senior next year. I have 3 soon-to-be stepkids that are going through Milton. And I think one of them is planning on starting a petition at the school or something like that, go for it. You know, we're not taking into account the emotions. You know, yeah, it costs a lot of money to sometimes do things we have to do. But, you know, if it's strictly on a tax-based reason, then we have a lot more work to do to figure this out before we can go forward with it. And I hope, you know, if the committee goes through and all that, that it's all going to come to a head just like it did in Somersworth a few years ago. I don't know how many people were here for that or remember what happened during that time. But I'm sure you all are going to go through it again. So, thank you.
Further questions, comments with respect to Article 13?
was cleaning out my fridge the other day,
I'm not gonna write that.
and there was a container, and I opened it up. Oh. And then I looked at my husband, and I said, smell this. Do you think he wants to smell it? No, based off my reaction. If we want to lower our taxes in this town, based off school, based off anything, and this does go along with the thing, I'll relate it back, I'll spin it. We need to change the atmosphere in general to be more positive and supportive in general. A friend of mine owns a very successful restaurant, and they were looking into moving in town. Deliver up money, revenue, lower the taxes. They called me up and said, I'm not doing that. Great location, beautiful spot. Holy crap, your town Facebook is nothing but negative and people hating each other. Why do I want that in my restaurant? Why do I want that in my name? You want to lower your taxes? You want to increase your school? Tell the kids the positive things about their school. Encourage them to make the most of it. Stop being negative. Newt sucks. Newt this. Milton Elementary this. Cut it out. Support your kids. Support the teachers. Be positive. Make with it what you can. Bring businesses into the town by not being negative all over the place. Then your taxes will go down. Thank you.
Al Goodman for president. Martin. All right. Further questions, comments? Outstanding. Move the question. Mr. Brown asked a question, closed discussion, and consideration for Article 13. Do I have a second to that? Oh, Pat, thank you. Nice to see you down there. Good job. All those in favor of closing consideration on Article 13? Anyone opposed? You have closed. You have amended Article 13. I'll instruct the clerk to place it on Article 13 on the second section now as amended. It is closed for further discussion. Is there anything else come before the board?
I'd like to take everybody coming out, thank you very much. I think we said a lot of work to do. Thank you very much.
I would recommend it. Normally we see a much lower turnout on the school, on both sides. I was very pleased today to see the good turnout, the good interest and comments presented by everyone. Thank you. This is the kind of energy that Al was talking about that needs to keep going. This room needs to get full and have to talk about being in the gym. When that happens, I think there'll be there's definitely a different energy in the air in the community when that happens. Thank you. With that, the moderator will make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Here, second by Thomas McDougal. Motion to adjourn is not votable. We are adjourned. Thank you.